The afternoon sun cut through the kitchen window in harsh slants, illuminating dust particles that danced like tiny witnesses to my unraveling world. I stood at the counter, the bottle of chili oil trembling slightly in my hand, and wondered how a marriage of 12 years could come down to this, a moment of petty revenge that tasted like ash before I'd even gone through with it. My name is David Mitchell, and I'm a 43-year-old insurance adjuster from Columbus, Ohio. I've spent the better part of 2 decades assessing damage, calculating losses, and determining fault, but nothing in my professional experience prepared me to assess the wreckage of my own life. It started 3 days ago, on a Tuesday that began like any other. I'd taken Sarah's SUV to get the oil changed, because mine was already at the mechanic's. She'd mentioned something about needing it done, and I figured I'd surprise her by handling it. Sarah worked as a pharmaceutical sales rep, constantly driving between medical offices across 3 counties. The car was her second home, littered with protein bar wrappers, empty coffee cups, and sample medication cases. While waiting at the service center, I decided to clean out her vehicle. That's when I found it, wedged between the passenger seat and the center console, a purple silicone object that made my stomach drop. At first, my brain refused to process what I was seeing. Then came the cascade of questions, each one more painful than the last. We'd been intimate just last week. Not particularly passionate, but present, connected, or so I'd thought. Sarah had seemed satisfied, had curled against me afterward with her head on my chest like she always did. So why was this here? Why in the car? And most importantly, why hadn't she felt comfortable enough to share this part of her needs with me? I sat in that waiting room for 40 minutes, the object heavy in my jacket pocket, my mind racing through every interaction we'd had in recent months, looking for clues I'd missed, signs of dissatisfaction, evidence of the growing distance I'd been too comfortable, too complacent to notice. Sarah and I met in college, both of us studying at Ohio State. She was pre-med initially, brilliant and driven, with auburn hair that caught fire in the sunset and a laugh that made you want to keep making jokes just to hear it again. I was the steady one, the reliable guy who showed up with coffee during her all-night study sessions, who helped her when she cried after switching majors junior year, deciding medicine wasn't her calling after all. We got married young, maybe too young. 23 felt grown up at the time, but looking back, we were children playing house. Still, we built something real. A 3-bedroom colonial in a good school district. Even though we'd struggled to conceive and eventually accepted that children might not be in our future. Careers that paid the bills, and then some. A circle of couple friends we saw for barbecues and game nights. A life that looked from the outside enviable. But somewhere along the way, we'd stopped looking at each other. Really looking. The conversations had become transactional. Did you pay the electric bill? We need to call the plumber. Your mother called again. Our intimacy had followed a schedule, predictable and efficient. Tuesday and Saturday nights, usually. Quick and familiar. Comfortable, I'd thought. Clearly, I'd been wrong. I drove home that Tuesday in a fog, the discovery burning a hole in my pocket. When I walked into the house, Sarah was in the kitchen making dinner, humming along to something playing through her earbuds. She looked up and smiled, and I felt something crack inside my chest. Hey you, how was your day? She pulled out an earbud, stirring something on the stove that smelled like garlic and tomatoes. Fine. Got your oil changed. My voice sounded normal. Amazing how you can sound normal when your world is tilting sideways. Oh, you're the best. Thank you, honey. She crossed the kitchen and kissed my cheek. Her lips felt like a betrayal. I didn't confront her. Not then. Instead, I went to our bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed we'd shared for over a decade, staring at the framed photo on the nightstand from our honeymoon in Jamaica. We looked so young, so certain. When had we stopped being those people? The next 2 days were torture. I watched Sarah move through the house, trying to reconcile the woman I knew with this new information. She seemed completely normal, chatting about a difficult client, complaining about traffic, asking if I wanted to try that new Italian place downtown this weekend. Either she was an Oscar-worthy actress, or she genuinely didn't think anything was wrong. Meanwhile, I spiraled. Was she having an affair? Was I inadequate? Had our entire sex life been a lie, her faking satisfaction while harboring secret disappointments? The questions consumed me, keeping me awake at night while she slept peacefully beside me, her breathing steady and innocent. Thursday night, we had sex. It was scheduled after all. I went through the motions, hyper-aware of every sound she made, analyzing each reaction for authenticity. When she said she'd finished, I didn't believe her. When she cuddled against me afterward, I felt like a stranger in my own bed. Friday morning, I called in sick to work. I couldn't focus, couldn't function. Sarah left for her sales calls, kissing me goodbye and telling me to rest, to drink fluids. The moment her car pulled out of the driveway, I started searching. I went through her phone first, my hands shaking as I entered her passcode, our wedding anniversary, which felt particularly cruel. Nothing suspicious. No secret messaging apps, no suggestive texts. Her email was clean. Her social media was mundane motivational quotes, photos of food, shares from friends. I checked our credit card statements online. No unusual charges, no hotel rooms, no evidence of an affair, which somehow made it worse. If she was cheating, at least there would be someone to blame, something concrete to rage against. But this was about us, about me, about something lacking in a relationship that she couldn't even tell me about. That's when I saw the bottle of chili oil in our pantry. We'd bought it at an Asian market months ago, after watching some cooking show. Sarah loved spicy food. I had a mild tolerance. The bottle sat unused, too intense for our suburban palates. The thought came to me fully formed, dark and vindictive. I could add it to that toy. The next time she used it, she'd feel what I was feeling, a burning, unexpected pain. A physical manifestation of betrayal. I took the bottle from the shelf and held it, this instrument of petty revenge. Then I went to her car, where I knew the toy still was. She hadn't moved it, hadn't hidden it better. Maybe she didn't even know I'd found it. Maybe she'd forgotten it was there. I sat in the driver's seat of her SUV, the bottle in one hand, my marriage balanced in the other. The leather still smelled like her perfume, something floral and expensive I'd bought her for her birthday. There were pictures tucked in the sun visor. US at Niagara Falls, her sister's wedding, a selfie from last month's dinner party where we looked happy. My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah, feeling better, want me to grab soup on the way home? Love you? Love you. 2 words we said reflexively, habit more than declaration. When had we stopped meaning it, or had we ever truly meant it at all? I thought about my parents, married 46 years before my father passed away. They'd had their struggles, my dad's drinking in the 80s, my mom's depression after her sister died, but they'd fought through it, together. They talked to each other. They went to counseling. They didn't keep secrets. I thought about my older brother, divorced twice by 40. Communication, he'd told me once. Drunk and maudlin at Thanksgiving. That's where it all falls apart. You stop talking, you stop listening, and suddenly you're strangers sharing a mortgage. I looked at the bottle of chili oil, at this stupid, cruel plan I'd concocted. What would it accomplish? She'd be hurt, yes. Physically uncomfortable, certainly. But would it make me feel better? Would it fix whatever was broken between us? The answer, sitting there in her car with the afternoon sun beating down, was no. It wouldn't fix anything. It would only make things worse. It would make me into someone I didn't want to be, someone who responded to pain with more pain, who chose revenge over resolution. I put the bottle down and picked up my phone instead. We need to talk when you get home, I texted back. Nothing's wrong with me. But something's wrong with us. And I want to fix it. The 3 dots appeared immediately, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, okay. I'll be home by 6. I love you, David. Really, I sat in that car for another hour, rehearsing what I'd say, how I'd found the toy, how it made me feel inadequate, betrayed, confused, hurt, how I realized we'd been sleepwalking through our marriage, going through motions without really connecting. How I wanted to know what she needed, what I could do better, what we could build together if we actually tried. The confrontation that evening was nothing like I'd imagined. Sarah came home with Thai food instead of soup, pad Thai, and drunken noodles, my favorites. We sat at the kitchen table, and before she could even set down her bags, I started talking. I found something in your car. When I got the oil changed, her face went pale, then red. Oh God! David, why didn't you tell me? I asked, and my voice cracked. Why couldn't you talk to me about what you needed? What followed was 3 hours of the most honest conversation we'd had in years. She cried. I cried. She explained that it wasn't about me being inadequate. It was about her feeling like she couldn't ask for what she wanted. Without seeming demanding or unsatisfied, she'd bought it months ago, kept it in her car because she was embarrassed to bring it into our house, used it occasionally during her lunch breaks when she was parked somewhere private. I felt like I had to be satisfied with what we had, she said, tears streaming down her face, like wanting more was greedy or wrong. Like I should be grateful for what we had and not ask for anything else. I told her about finding it, about the spiral I'd gone into, about the stupid, terrible idea with the chili oil that I'd almost gone through with. Her eyes widened. You were going to, David, that's insane. And also kind of fair. I mean, not fair, but I understand why you thought about it. I hurt you, without meaning to, but I did. We talked about our sex life, awkward and fumbling at first, then more openly. She wanted more foreplay. I wanted more spontaneity. We both wanted to feel desired, not just convenient. We'd been performing for each other rather than being with each other. Why didn't we talk about this before? I asked. Because talking about it means admitting something's wrong, she said. And we've spent so many years telling ourselves that we're fine, that we've got it figured out. Admitting we need help feels like failing. But we're failing anyway, I said. Just quietly. That night we didn't have sex. Instead, we sat on the couch, her head on my shoulder, my arm around her waist. And we talked until 3 in the morning about our hopes when we first got married, about the ways we disappointed each other and ourselves, about what we wanted our next decade to look like. We started seeing a marriage counselor the following week. Dr. Patricia Chen, a no-nonsense woman in her 60s who called us out on our bullshit and made us do the hard work of actually communicating. It was uncomfortable and painful and absolutely necessary. You two have been roommates, she told us after our 3rd session. Friendly roommates who occasionally have sex, but you're not partners. Not really. Partners share their lives, their fears, their desires. You've been sharing space. She was right. We'd been coasting, assuming that, because we didn't fight much and had some good memories, we had a good marriage. But a good marriage requires effort, requires vulnerability, requires risk. It requires being willing to say I need more, and I can do better. 6 months later, things aren't perfect. We still have bad days. We still fall into old patterns sometimes. But we're trying, actively and intentionally. We have date nights where we actually talk, instead of just eating in companionable silence. We've explored new things together, sexually and otherwise. We took a pottery class. Terrible at it, but laughing through the process. We're planning a trip to New Zealand next year, something we've talked about for ages but never actually pursued. The toy, by the way, came into the house, into our bedroom, and it's become part of our shared intimacy rather than her solitary secret. That took some ego swallowing on my part, accepting that I alone couldn't provide everything she needed. But I've learned that it's not about me being enough.